Hello everyone, welcome to Do Space's webinar series that we're doing here. Our building is closed, so we've started doing online classes for everyone to join. Now for that today, we're doing TinkerCad Basics. If you don't know what TinkerCad is, it is a website that lets you create 3D models, very basic 3D models really quickly. There isn't much sculpting in there. You're not really like making really complex objects with multiple vertices and faces in there. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're in the right place. Now, if you'll notice on Zoom, if you're watching from Facebook, you won't be able to access this, but on Zoom, there is a chat. You can say hello right in there, talk about why you're interested in this, and what kind of favorite 3D art you like to see the most. It could be physical or digital 3D art. And another thing I want to mention is that I do have some squeakers right over there. That might get a little noisy. I've tried before putting them somewhere else, but they just scream the whole time while I'm talking to everyone online. So bear with me on that. And one last thing I want to point out, if you are watching from Facebook, you won't be able to ask questions on there. You'll have to join on the Zoom link. It should be on the side or right below, actually that way, right on the side or right below if you are watching from mobile. All you have to do is like tap on that link, install Zoom if you don't have it, and you can type right in chat in there. Otherwise, we're going to move on here and get started. So my name is Ruth. I am a community learning specialist at DoSpace. I do a lot of the older elementary kids and teen programs at DoSpace. And I like parrots, video games, sometimes comics too, and such. If you want to chat about those, I am game for that. Okay. So first thing we got to do is open up this link right here and sign up for TinkerCad if you don't. I'm going to post it right in chat, the link, so you guys can just copy and paste it directly. But it'll take you to this page right here. And I'm going to go over making a very basic model through here. And at the end, I'm going to show you how to upload it in Kira if you were interested in 3D printing your creations in the future. Like when we open again at DoSpace, you can just come in, sign up, use our 3D printer, and 3D print your models you made from this webinar. So to sign up on here, I'm going to do a little annotation here. I'm also going to be pausing my screen because I don't want you guys to see my login info. Got to have some little security on the web. But you can go right up there. Also, if my face is blocking the upper right corner right now, you can left click it and drag it away. On Facebook, unfortunately, I can't drag my face away on there. But right in Zoom, you can just drag my face away and be able to click directly on the join now. And you can follow there to sign up an account. Just make it a little bit more arrows around that way. Yep, you can go right in there, sign up account. And again, if you have any questions, you can type right in chat. Yeah, you won't see now because I pause share, but when you click join now, it asks you, are you in school or not? Just go ahead and straight up create personal account. If you already have an account, and sign in. If you already have an AutoCAD account of some type, you can go ahead and do that. And you can sign in with Google if you want, so you don't have to go through and typing everything, create a complex password and such. Just giving people time to create an account and sign right in. Okay, we're going to move on here. So once you've signed in, you get to this page right here. And you're still working on sign in. Trust me, signing with a Google account is a lot faster than creating a complex password while it asks for special characters, capitalization, and such. If you don't have a Google account, good luck. It's not that difficult, honestly, but it just takes some time. But again, after you sign in, you'll get to this page right here. And you notice I have some creations already. On the left side right here, it's actually not just used just for 3D modeling or 3D making or viewing 3D models. You also have circuits, code blocks. It's also got some lessons if you guys want to do some more stuff. You can create project. In the upper bar, there's gallery, blog, learn, and teach. But I'm going to go back to 3D designs. And then I'm going to click on create design. And then I get this space right here. Now, if you never used a 3D modeling space before, it can get a little confusing. There's a lot of ways to like navigate through here. Through using a trackpad on a laptop, 3D modeling is going to be very difficult. When it comes to making 3D objects, I highly recommend using a mouse. If you don't have one, good luck. Using trackpad, it can be difficult because all 3D spaces, like 3D programs, use all 3 mouse buttons, like the middle click, left click, and right click to navigate around in this space. If you're on a tablet, it can be even more difficult because all you have is the touchscreen. You can't really like move things in place. You'll see soon what I mean by that. But yeah, we're right in here. And if you notice right at the top, it gave us a name for a project. Mine's called Tremendous Crift. I'm just going to rename it my first project. If you want to give it a name, you don't have to. Or I can get a specific name of what I'm making, like a wrench. Because I'll be showing you guys how to make a wrench. Otherwise, again, you can keep the name it is. I like to give it a name. So when I download it, I know exactly what it is instead of one random name. So right in here, in the middle, after you've named it, I'm going to teach you guys how to move around in the 3D space. Now, you don't have to put a square in there yet. I'm just showing you cube. Sorry, not a square, cube. I got a cube in there. You don't have to put it in there yet. I'm just using it to make it easier to tell how I am moving around. Actually, I'm going to use a much more complex object right in here. Okay, so you got this plane in the middle. That's our flat plane that we're working with. I'm going to hold down middle click where the scroll bar is. And if I hold that down, I can move my space around, but I can't rotate around. It just stays in the same perspective all the time. So if I need to like them like super zoomed in, I can hold that middle click down and like move to the left, move to the right. And if you're wondering how I zoomed in and zoomed out, I just scrolled out and I scrolled back in. Again, if you're on a trackpad, it's a little bit more difficult. If you notice on the left side of this space, there are like buttons over here. There's actually a plus sign and a minus sign. So if you're on a trackpad or a touchscreen, you can just touch those buttons instead of scrolling in and scrolling out to zoom in and zoom out. Now to do this right here, you have to have a middle click button to do this. To be able to move back and forth. That's one of the main reasons why I highly recommend using a 3-button mouse to navigate through 3D spaces. Yeah. Another thing you do is I hold right click down. So I'm holding right click down and it lets me rotate my object around. Instead of it like dragging it left to right or up and down, I can rotate it so I can see different views of my object here. So I got a hand right here. I can see the back side of the hand and the front side of the hand. By doing that, holding right click down to rotate it around, and there isn't really a button to do that on the side here. I'm going to show you the cube a little bit later, but there is another way to do it, but you can't do it with the buttons on the side right here. Yeah, and I can rotate around it. So if I get lost, I use the hold middle button click to like move over to an object. See, if I'm like right here and like rotated all the way to top in a weird perspective, I can hold middle button mouse to get back in the center here, and hold right click down to get back into my front view. And scroll in and scroll out to zoom in and zoom out. Or I can just click on this button right over here. Another thing you do if you're like lost anywhere, you can click the house button on the left side there, that little buttons right there. They just click home view. It takes me back to a standard view of my 3D object to be able to view all of it. Now, another way to navigate through this space, if you're on a trackpad and you don't got a mouse, there's this cube right here. And you can left click on the cube and drag it around to rotate your object around. And it's so much easier to do it through there if you're on a trackpad, rather than the way I was doing it with holding left click around and right click around and dragging it. Yeah, you can just use this object right here. And if I left click on a name on here, so top, like left click on top, takes me to the top. And then there's some arrows around the cube on here. If I click on the arrow right there, it takes me to that side. So bottom, right side, front. And I just can click those arrows to move around and have a perfect view, like flat on view of that side that I'm viewing. Because sometimes when we are making 3D objects, we need like a perfect perspective of the right side or left side. To like be able to detail everything, so we're not accidentally adding details in the wrong view there, and it looks so weird when you're rotated around. That is something you will have to get used to in 3D modeling. Another thing I want to point out, as I left click and drag, the corners highlight and the edges highlight when I hover over them. If I click on this corner right here, it takes me to that view. Same thing with the edges. So I don't not only can have like a perfectly flat view, I can also go from like these angled views too. If I want to look at it from slightly above, but from the front side, I can just click that side, or I can click at the back view, slightly above, but viewing the back. Yeah, so you can use this cube to navigate around if you don't have a way, like a really good right button to use on a mouse to rotate it around. So again, if you have any questions, you can post them right in chat in Zoom. And I'm very willing to stop and go over things again to help you guys learn how to use a 3D modeling program. What's on a website. Okay. So I definitely recommend getting used to rotating around, because we can get really lost really quickly. So I can zoom all the way out over here, and then I could be like all the way off over here, and I'm just like, where's my model? I'm rotating around. Well, it's kind of easy because I can find the grid over there. But I'm like rotating around, and I'm like, where's my object? Where's my object? I can just click on the cube to give me a different view back, or I can just click on the home view, and it takes me back to this spot right here if I ever get lost in moving around the 3D space. Okay, so there's another little button on the left side here. Not just a what's it called, a full screen view, but there's one at the bottom right on the left side over here. Usually in other 3D programs, yeah, it highlights it. It's called orthographic view. Orthographic view makes everything look flat. So if I click right here, everything's a little flatter looking. It's kind of hard to tell with this model, but like the perspective flattens out and looks less 3D. So I'm just like clicking it over and over again to switch it back and forth. So orthographic flattens objects, like the view of it. And perspective view makes it back return to that 3D view. So this is perspective, and this is orthographic. This orthographic is usually used for painting on textures. In TinkerCAD, you can't paint textures, so you don't have to worry about that. And it's also used for architecture. If you want to have a more flatter view of like 3-point perspective, I believe, not 3-point perspective, 2-point perspective view. for creating buildings. So you can use for the orthographic view for that. There you go. So that's mostly how you navigate through the space and look at a different perspective. Okay, so let's say you are going to be 3D printing something and you want it at a very particular size, like 1.5 inches by 1.2 by 1.8 or something around that. This grid right here helps you size your objects appropriately if you're going to be like making it in real life, like 3D printing it or using it to construct something. A lot of times this grid helps out, but right now this grid right here is actually set to 1.0 millimeters. So not the little squares in here, but the bigger blue square with the tiny little squares in it is 1 meter each. Of these squares, the tiny little squares is just 1/10 of that bigger square. And I don't want to work in millimeters, so I can actually switch it. So if I go to the bottom right, I'm going to circle it for you guys. So I'm going to go to the bottom right here. I can click Edit Grid. And if I highlight over it, it says Workspace Measurements. So if I left click on that, I can change, it gives me like this little window of grid properties. I can change my units to either millimeters, bricks, if you want to work with Legos. By the way, you can also use this to build Legos. I can show that a little bit later, but I'm going to work in inches. And I'm going to make it 10 inches. Oh. There we go. Make it 10 inches by 10 inches in width and length. There we go. You're going to also have like, there's like presets on here if you're using a 3D printer specifically, like the Ultimaker has like a size of their board on there, or you can make your own custom ones and name it. I'm just working with a 10 inch by 10 inch space here. So when you're done with that, you can click Update Grid. It doesn't really look like anything changed, but it did. And you look on the bottom right over here, you see Snap Grid. Snapping is just for you want your object to specific snap to a certain point on the grid. You see it switched to 1/8 inch instead of 1 millimeter. So if I click on Snap Grid, I can, like, if I want to move things specifically, I can move things by a 1/2 inch and such, or turn it off. This will make more sense when we start making little 3D objects, but know that you can have things snapped to certain points on this grid here. There we go. So the next thing we're going to do is finally move an object in. So on the right side right here, with this big little window with 3D models on it, is where we can grab some basic shapes in or other things in. There's a thing that says TinkerCad right here, right below Workspace and Ruler. I forgot to mention Workspace and Ruler. It just changes the view of this. If you want to work in a ruler, I click right here. It adds a ruler in there. Or I can click a workspace and add more workspaces in here. But I'm not going to do that. I'm happy with the one I have already. But if you want multiple workspaces, if you want to size different things, you can do that. But right below that, there's a little menu that says TinkerCad, and I can grab different things from here. Like I can just choose all and have all the shapes show up. I can left click it, drag it in. I got like a brick wall right here that someone built and uploaded to make it public use. And I can left click on it and it highlights blue and delete it. There's some text and numbers in here if you want a specific letter and number. Some connectors for 3D printing purposes. Some characters that are in here, mostly mustaches, bunny ears. It's more like props than actual characters. There's some circuit stuff in here if you're working with a 3D model that wants that you want to have circuits on it. And then there's printables where you can print all the dinosaur parts and connect it. And there's a skeleton. TinkerCad is very much optimized for simple 3D printing. It's like just there to be a quick editor. And it looks like they added some house objects in here. So what we're going to be working with is basic shapes, because when we make 3D objects in here, we're going to combine different shapes together to make a full object. I'm going to go ahead and click basic shapes. Here you go. And you notice there's these two top ones with like lines in them. Don't click on those. Just keep them there for now. But you can see that there's a cube, cylinder, sphere, scribble. That's for drawing. Roof, cone, text, and I scroll down some star shapes, a die, that one with a die, and various other things. So if you're following along, go ahead and left click on the box cube and just drag it into your grid space. And you can see that there's like a little highlighted cube. I'm still holding left click down, and I can place it anywhere I want. There we go. And it's right in this grid. And since it's like fits the little grid cube specific, like very, very well, I know that this is 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch. And for me to select this cube right in here, I can left click on it, hold left click down, and drag it around if you want to move it. If you put like a bunch of objects in here by accident, like this right here, I'm like, oh no, I got a bunch of objects in here. I can just left click on the object and a little like works like, I guess, dotted cube line shows, dashed cube line shows around it with little arrows around it. That's how I know I have that one selected. Or it's got like a blue highlight line around it that shows up. I can go ahead and left click on that and delete. Left click on that and I hit the delete key on my keyboard. Left click on this one, hit the delete key on my keyboard. And then I just got this cube here. Now, if you notice, as I hold left click down and drag this around, you'll see like our little ruler shows up as I move it. This is just showing the point where I had it at, and as I move around, it gives me a measurement of like the distance I'm moving to if I need that. So there's that, if you want to work with that. And you notice as I move this right here, it actually kind of snaps. I'm going to switch it to 1/2 inch. And you notice now as I move it around, it moves 1/2 inch of each of those grid spots. If you have that going on there, you can just turn it off if you want it really smooth. So I'm just turning it off, and now if I move slowly, you see it's like a lot more smoother gliding. Hopefully my video is not lagging on anywhere. It looks smooth. Okay, so every 3D program has 3 main ways to manipulate your cube or whatever object you have in. There's translate, which usually means move, rotate, and scale. Rotate it obviously to turn it around 360 axis, and scale to make it smaller and larger. So as I left click and drag it around, that is translate already. Yeah, translate's usually what the lingo is for moving it around. Now to rotate it, I'm going to zoom in here. Too bad I can't make the UI a little bit bigger, but you'll see that there's like these little half circle arrows that are pointing in on the edges of the square, cube over here. There should be 3 of them, so you can rotate in 3 different directions. There's 1 at the bottom and 2 at the top. If you highlight over it, it'll give you like a little ring, and it has like a number of degrees at the top. If I hold left click down on that arrow right there and slowly move to the right or left, I can get the object to rotate. And it gives you a number of how many degrees you are rotating it. And of course I can't go greater than 360 degrees, it just goes back to 0 when I get to that point. And if I go in the other direction, it shows me negative. It has it that so you know which way you rotated it. So I'm just going to go ahead and rotate this 45 degrees. I can get it. There we go. So now it's rotated 45 degrees. Okay. So TinkerCad doesn't have this, but in other 3D programs, there's a thing called the XYZ Access. It's different in every program. You'll see it in a 3D printer program like Kira, but it doesn't really have it here. It's either Z and Y, that's usually up. X is almost always width, and it's either Y or Z for length. So here I rotated on, I'm going to say Z is up here. I rotated it this way. So I rotated on the Y axis, I believe. Let's see. Yeah. No, I rotated along the X axis. This would be Y and this would be Z axis. It's a little confusing in there, and hopefully I don't have it backwards because this is going along left to right on the side, so that's along the X axis. This is forward and back, so that's along the Y axis. This one down here is Z axis because it rotates the whole thing around. So you can actually rotate it based on 3 different sides or angles. And only up to 3 different angles, X, Y, and Z for the X axis. If this doesn't make sense to you, it's okay. Just know that there's 3 different ones, like different ways to rotate it. So I can rotate up here, I can rotate it over here, rotate it this way. Yeah. So there's 3 different ways, like there's 3 different sides to rotate on. Here you go. So I rotated my cube. And if you're wondering how to get this to go up and down, another way to do translate, if you notice there's an arrow on top of the cube right here. If I click on that, I can move it up and down. So I'm just bringing it up above my grid right here. Looks like I'm 0.7 above my grid. There we go, 0. Because earlier when I rotated it, it went through my grid. Just remember this grid is the ground of your 3D printer. Or whatever, if you're uploading it to like not Minecraft, Roblox or something. Do you like when you upload the 3D model and it might like be partway through the ground. So you want to keep it above the grid right here. Okay, so we learned translate, movement, and rotate. Next we want to do scale. So scale is a little weird here in this 3D program compared to other 3D programs. But to make it larger or smaller, you have to grab the corners right here, this little dashed line square on the grid that's around your object. They have it highlighted. You can also do the inner little squares in here to like not uniformly scale it up. So I'm going to uniformly scale it, and that means all the sides are going to stay the same size. So if I start from one of the corners here, hold left click down, drag it out. Oh, nope, it's kind of scaling weird. Never mind. So if I had an even shaped square, it would do uniformly, but no, it's not uniform right now. It's kind of like stretching out here, but that's how I can scale it. Now, so I can grab like these different sizes and scale it from that side and here. And if I do the top square, I can scale it up and down. You can see from this angle that I scaled it up and down. There we go. Sam's kind of scaling it around. Definitely want to get used to doing this if you want to make your object larger in a certain way. I'll show you how to uniformly scale it up. It's a little bit harder when it's rotated like this. But there's another way. Okay, so there we go. We've used the 3 main tools to rotate it, scale it, and move it around, translate. If you got any questions, again, you can type it right in the Zoom chat. Okay, now, there's actually another way to move it around. Well, not to move it around, but to scale it, make it larger and smaller. So I'm gonna clear my board here again, and right here, there's actually a little menu of like the properties of our 3D model right here. There's solid mode and whole mode. I'm gonna get to that later. If I click on solid right here, I can actually change the color. When you 3D print this, if you're interested in 3D printing specifically, or putting this in another program, or whatever else, this color right here only really kind of matters in digital programs. If you're going to 3D print this color is not going to change the color of your 3D print model. Like it's red right now, it's not going to come out red unless I put red filament in. So do note when you change the color in here, that's not the color it's going to be when you 3D print it. And the next thing right below that, there's our little like guides right here. Steps is not going to be really used on this. Radius is not going to be used in the, actually no. So if I increase the radius, it turns into a sphere. And then steps right below that is just how many, like how smooth your sphere is. So steps is like the number of like polygons along each side. So if I do 1, there's only like 1 along each side right here. So it's like a little diamond shape. And if I increase the size, it changes the number over here. And that's if you want to change your cube into a sphere for some strange reason, but I'm just gonna bring it in. You can use radius to make it a smooth square. The number of steps can like add how smooth those edges are. So right now, it's just like 1 space. Now 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 long here to make it nice and smooth. So I got like a little smooth cube here. Now right below that is length. So I can like change my size uniformly by keeping all these numbers the same size. Like length, width, height right here. I can type 2 right here. So you can actually click on the numbers right here and change it that way if you want to do it. Make it like if you're more like working with numbers, you can just type in right in here. And there you go. And that's how I changed the size of this more uniformly by keeping my length, width, and height the same number across. Of course, as I change it on the board over here, it's not going to show up on the side right here. And that's something unfortunate. Other 3D programs do show that, the value of each side, unless you do freeze transform. You don't have to know that for TinkerCAD, but just know that in other programs, it actually keeps the number updated over here, usually. Yeah, so there we now have found another way to manipulate our cube. Other model objects actually have different menus, like this little roof right here. It's got none except for color. The cylinder right here only has bevel and segments and sides. This text right here lets me change the text, height, bevel, and segments. So just do note that each thing has like a different like options. There you go. So now we're gonna figure out thinking, we learned how to delete, but how do I duplicate objects? To duplicate it, I'm gonna clear this right here. There's like this little, let me get it. There's like this little menu right here too. So if I select my cube, I get the option to delete it up here too. I don't have to hit the delete key down here. I can also delete it up here in this bar. I can duplicate it by clicking this little square. It's got multiple squares right here. So I left click. Nothing looks like it happened, but if I drag the cube out, it duplicates it in the same space. So I duplicate again, bring it out. There we go. And I duplicate it again. And there we go, I got 4 cubes. Too many cubes. I'm gonna click the trash can up here. And if I did something I didn't like, there's a little back arrow right here that means undo. If you hover over it, there's the quick key for it. So I can just click undo and bring those cubes back, or redo to make them go away. And then you can also just straight up copy if you want, and then move this over and then paste. You know, paste like near it. If you want to like do 2 steps of it instead of having to duplicate in place. It's up to you. And with that, you can do Control C and Control V. There we go. So we got 2 cubes floating right over here. Now, if you want to work with symmetry, I need to make, I'm going to do this with text to showcase it better. So I'm just going to write T, and no, I'll just keep it as text for now. Looks like I accidentally grabbed the bar. So I'm on text right here. And next thing I want to show you is mirror. So what if I want the same object but reversed? Right over above your little mini menu of editing this shape is right here. There's like more little options. And the one with 2 like isosceles triangles, not isosceles, right angle triangles. I click on that. If I click on it, it gives me some arrows in the sides right here. If I highlight over it, it gives me like another object preview of how it's mirroring it. So I'm going to click this bottom arrow right here, and you can see it's kind of flipped a different way. If I click on the side right here, it's upside down, bringing it back. That's upright, it's just upright for this one, but if it had more differences between top and bottom, you'll see a difference there. But text is pretty much the same from top to bottom. But if you want to mirror it for some strange reason, there's that. And then if you're working with multiple objects, so drag another cube in here, or work with the one you've copied already. So I'm bringing another object in here. If I select both of these objects, I have to hold Shift down to select both objects, or I can left click and drag out, and I get like this red dotted square line. If I drag it out, it selects both of the objects. And up here, again, where I circled, there's group. And if I group it, it acts like it's the same object, and I can rotate it around. Or I can ungroup it, and it separates them again. I'm actually going to combine them a little bit. So if you have multiple objects you want to bring together to make a new shape, you can just group it and have it as a new shape like this. So right now they're kind of like one, or I could separate them again. I'm also going to align them. If I click a line right up there, I can have them align to each other more uniformly. There you go. Now they're combined, much more centered. And then I'm going to click group right up here. It brings them to one object. One object. They're actually two separate objects, kind of. I'm not going to really go into that, but they kind of look like they're one object right now. Now, next thing, I already showed you guys sphere. I didn't really show you bevel as much. There we go. So if you wonder what bevel is, let me rotate this more. It just brings the top lines down here. If you want to bring the circumference in, and segments just adds more spot spaces in there. So just like with the cube, bring the cube in. That's steps for cubes. Kind of segments and steps are the same thing. I don't know why they separated them, but they did. And sphere, it's steps. And cylinder, it's segments. Click on this, it makes it smoother, except for it didn't. Oh, it's because I gotta bring the bevel in. So this part is smoother now. And sides is stuff in here. So segments, I guess, is within the bevel. Sides, it's outside of the bevel. Then I got another object right there. And if you're curious about scribble, if I bring scribble in and I let go, it lets me draw right in the space. And I get that it's a little 3D menu, like a 3D model. So if you want to make really weird looking 3D models or like write your name, you can do that. And of course, if I draw these together, it's going to combine this to one big object. There you go. There's my name right in there. And then at the bar right here, there's like undo, redo, there's an eraser, there's like a group, like circle, draw shape option, and there's like a erase shape option if you want to erase bigger areas. So I just quickly made a little like scribble object, and the only thing I can really do with it besides edit again is change the height. If I want to change the depth with it, I can. So maybe you can 3D print something with your name on it, or not. So now we've learned how to use this program. The next thing we're going to do, actually there's one thing I forgot to show you guys. And after I show you that thing, we're now going to make a 3D object. So I'm going to go back to right here, my combined object, and I'm going to ungroup it. I'm going to select my blue cube in the middle, And then I'm going to choose hole. And nothing's really happening right now, but hole makes it where I can cut spaces in other objects in that shape. It doesn't like really affect the other model until I combine it and group it. So I'm grouping it, and now you can see holes through this object right here. So TinkerCAD doesn't really let you like grab a face and change it and squish it and add more faces in there and turn it to like a tree and such. It's more like putting shapes together and cutting holes in it and combining different shapes together to make something. That's why it makes it a very basic 3D program. If you're looking for something more complex, try Blender, Fusion 360, SolidWorks, or some other AutoCAD products like Maya, and I'm trying to remember not Autodesk. That's the name of the company. There's some other ones too if you want to try more complex stuff, but this is a great place to start for more basic stuff, or if you want to get something quickly made that's super basic done. So now we're going to start working on making a wrench. You can try making something more complex. I just decided to do a wrench because a wrench is really simple to put together on here. So I'm just going to select all of these right here, delete it, clear my space. And so you got to think about what shapes do I need to make my wrench? Might need a cylinder, might need a cube. Definitely will need some holes in there, but for now, I'm going to stick with my cube. So I'm going to start with the cube. I'm going to first start working with the bar. I'm going to grab the side right here, make it longer. I'm going to make this about 6 inches. Oh, it's snapping. I'm going to turn snap back on to 1/2. I'm going to delete this cube and bring another cube in so I have more precise size. There we go. And now I'm bringing it out. I'm going to get exactly 6 inches. There we go. You can see that number right there. That's 6 inches. You can make it longer or shorter. Snap is really good if you want things to be precisely sized. And then I'm going to make it thinner. I'm going to change my snap to, I'm going to make it about 1/8 inch tall. There we go. And so I just like made it long, 6 inches long and 1/8 inch tall. I'm actually going to make it slightly smooth. And if I smooth it this way, it's not going to work out. So I'm actually going to make it taller again. There we go. Now I'm smoothing it. I want to do about, yeah, depending on what size the shape is, it's going to like change my radius differently. So I just put it back to normal. And I'm going to make it about 4 steps. I'm going to keep it very low poly. There we go. Now I smooth edges. And now I'm bringing it back out to 6 inches. Bring this down to 1/8. That's a little bit better. Still kind of doing that weird thing. Still, it's kind of coming in, but I'm okay with that. And then I'm actually going to duplicate this twice. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm going to put an indent in here and I'm going to write a like word on there. And I kind of want it to, like, I'm trying to give a little edge right in here. And I'm going to bring this in on about 3/4. There you go. And then I'm going to bring the side in a little bit. Bring it in. There we go. And I'm going to turn snap off. Bring it down just a little. Turn it to a hole. So all I did was duplicate the object and made it a little bit smaller. So I want to bring a little bit of an indent on the inside of here so I can put some decoration in there. and then I'll turn it to a hole under the shape menu. There we go. And I'm going to left click drag out so I can select both of them. And then I'm going to group them. There we go. You can see that there's like a little indent into it now at the wall. I'm going to undo because I'm going to bring this shape a little bit more down. Select both again. Combine. Oh, not, yeah. Sorry, group. And there we go. Now I have a little bit more of an indent in there. There we go. So I got my bar in. I kind of want to have a rounded in right here instead of flat in. So I'm going to grab the cylinder right here. Bring my snap back on. You can keep snap on or off. It's up to you. But I constantly turn it off and turn it back on. And I remember that this is 1/8 inch tall. And I'm going to bring this down really short. Make this about the same size. Might have to turn off snap again to align it better. Bring it in. And I'm going to have like a rounded edge come inside a little bit. There we go. About right there. It's still going to be weird shape a little. There we go. And I select both of them. And then I click on group or Control G. Now the whole thing is orange. It looks like I was wrong about the size a little bit, so I'm going to undo. And bring it back. Oh, it's because this thing's not on the grid. So I'm going to turn snap back. No. Bring it back on. There we go. Zoom in here. A little bit bigger. I work exclusively in the front view. Switch to orthographic front. There we go. That's a little bit better. So you can like really zoom in on things if you want to get things like really perfect. There we go. About right here. There we go. For graphic off. There we go. And then I'm going to ungroup this again. Grab this and grab the red shape. Group. Grab the whole. Group. There we go. So that's a little bit better. It's still kind of weird over here. But when I 3D print it, it's going to be a little bit more smoother. Here we go. So got a bar, got a rounded edge. I'm going to grab another cylinder right over here. And I'm going to flatten it down. And I'm actually going to undo that because I forgot to turn snapping back on. So I'm going to turn snapping to 1/8 inch. Bring this down to 1/8 inch. There we go. And I bring the size up. I'm going to undo that and get it in a square. There we go. Bring size up. That's better. So if you're trying to size things perfectly, you have to get it right in the grid square to make it snap properly because it's going to snap to the tiny little grid squares. And I'm going to do about 2.5 by 2.5. Hold on, that's not right. Actually 2/1/4 and 2/1/4 should be good. Oop. Bring it in here. Here we go. And then I'm going to grab a polygon in here. I'll make it 5-sided. Make it bigger. About one. Oh, nope. I need to put it right in the middle of the grid again to make it like size properly. There you go, now it's 1 inch. Gonna make it 7/8, 1/7 by 1/7. There we go. Bring it in here. Oh, it's a little too big. So this part shape right here that I'm using is gonna cut my shape into the wrench for me. And I'm gonna rotate it out this way. Looks like I need to make it a little bit bigger. Might be a little too big. Yeah, that's gonna be too big. Out there. Nope. Bring it about here. Still quite a weird wrench shape. So I'm gonna rotate it to about there. Rotate it in a little bit more so it's got the pointy edge in. And I can use my little like cube on the upper left to like try to position this a little bit better. And of course I can turn snapping off or change it to 1/64, but I'm gonna keep it like this. Turn this to a hole so I can see how it turns. It changes a little bit. Make this a little bit longer. Bring this up a little. Make it a little bit longer, a little wider. I feel like it's too pointy at the top. There we go. Oop. I accidentally moved it too far down. There we go. I'm gonna bring that longer again. A lot of 3D modeling, just you staring at it, making sure this is right in this perspective. Hope so. And then grabbing both, bind shape. There we go, got a hole. It's a really weird looking claw wrench. And I'm grabbing all my objects, combining it together. And then I'm gonna grab my text. Just gonna change my text wrench in the shape menu. I'm gonna change, oh, I can't change font, no sans, there we go. Gonna turn my grid back on. Gonna change it to 1/64. Go, bring it in. Bring it in, moving it up. Gotta make it a lot smaller. Oops. A little bit taller. Coming down, make sure it's right. Bring it a little longer. Along on this side too. There we go. Grabbing, selecting it all, combining it to one shape again. And there we go. Made a wrench. Oops. I accidentally rotate the other way. There we go. Made a wrench right there. So TinkerCad, again, like I said before, it's usually mainly used for combining shapes and separating them. Now the last thing I'm going to do here is show you how to export it so you can put it into a 3D printing program. So on the upper right, over here, there is import, export, and send to. And if you're wondering earlier, I was talking about Legos. I'm going to quickly switch that preview. There's like a pixel preview and a Lego preview. Of course, it's not going to work in the Lego preview, but I could put Legos in. So if you guys are wondering about that, that's where it is. But back to over here, import, export, and send to. I'm going to click export. And I can choose everything design or the selected shape. And for me to put it in 3D printing object, you can do .obj or .scl. At do space, you wanted to make it in .stl. There's also laser cutting options. But for do space TAS, you want .stl, clicked on it, and then it downloaded right at the bottom of my browser. So it's down over here. I'm going to switch to Kira. Highlight that, get rid of my little octopus. This is the program we use with our TAS. It's Kira. And then I'm going to import it. You can download this. This is actually free to download. You can like search Kira Luzbot. There's the website Luzbot, and then Kira download. You can go scroll down to Windows if you're interested in 3D printing it. But yeah, I'm right in here, and looks like my highlighting broke. There we go. I'm going to open File, go to Downloads, grab my wrench. This is why I named it earlier, like right at the beginning, because I want to know exactly what it is. And there's my wrench. It's a little flat. I should have made it a little bit thicker, but there we go. And it says the word wrench in there. And it's all smoothed out. And I can 3D print it. And there's a different access that I was talking about. And of course, it auto flattens back right there. But there we go. Made a 3D model that we can print later if we want to. Thank you very much for coming in and watching this. If you guys have any more questions, you can go to dspace.org and go to chat right in there, or you can email us at dspace. It's hello@dspace.org. And if you make anything really cool, you can share what you're doing on our Facebook. Go to DSpace Facebook and share, hey, I made this cool wrench. I'm going to 3D print it when you guys open again. We'll love to hear stories like that. But thank you very much for watching this, and have a good afternoon. Goodbye, everyone.